What is up, W Sports Podcast? Jimothy and Tuppy, we are back again because today we are breaking down all things football. And yes, it is Army Navy week, but it's also transfer portal season, coaching carousel, and the NFL is literally 1 month away from playoffs. And so we got a full episode today. But Tubby, it's going to be good to have a good day to have the W Sports Podcast. So welcome back to the show.
What is up? Yeah, it's been a hectic 72 hours
It
since
really
the
has. Yeah.
portal has opened. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, we talked about Bill Belichick in the last episode. So if you didn't hear that, we were already talking about him here, and then it broke. Obviously, I think the next day
Mhm.
or the day that we even released the episode.
Yeah,
Portal opens. Multiple schools have upwards of 15 to 20 plus people already in the portal. It's disgusting. It's gross.
hmm
But we also, on all that said, we got Army Navy this weekend, which is I
yeah,
still love that. Of all the things the college football world has changed, they still protect this weekend to be Army Navy. That's the game you get to watch, and it's right
yeah,
in the middle of the day at 2 p.m. So we're gonna start there because we want to start with some good news. Army
yeah,
Navy 11-1, 8-3. Navy's the ship has been rocky a little bit lately, while Army has just coming off of an American championship.
yeah.
I mean, how does that not roll off the tongue? Army wins
I'm
the American Conference. Come on.
the Army won America.
Yeah, they did. They really did. So this game is going to be whether Washington Commanders play. Weather should be fine. It's going to be great for two triple option teams. A little bit passing. So, are you excited? Are you leaning towards one side? Are you rooting for one side? What do you got?
So every year I always root for Navy because best buddy Quincy, he was in the Navy, so was his wife. So I always root for Navy, but I think Army's got it this year. But one thing I always look forward to is the new uniforms they wear every year. I mean, they always knock it out of the park. And this year, there's some pretty good ones with the Jolly Rogers for the Navy. They went and spiel about the whole history of the Jolly Roger and the Navy and stuff like that. And then the Army with their new uniforms this year. I love just to see the creativity that they come up with every year with these uniforms, and once
Mm-hmm.
again, they nailed it again.
Yeah, I same thing. Every year they do something very specific. It's great. Sometimes you
hmm
do just a traditional one with just a slight edge for something for that
hmm
game, but it should be great. I've always been an Army guy. I got some friends that were Army, so again, there's
hmm
always some kind of tie that you probably have with family or
Yeah.
friends that always lean you towards one side. Navy all time dominated this series. I'd say dominated. They have, I think it's like a 8-15, no, 8 game lead over or 7 game
hmm
lead with 7 ties. So Army though recently they have been the team to beat. But last year we talked about at the end of the year, Navy got rid of their head coach, and we were like,
hmm
oh, dang. But it looks like maybe this is the start of something new here. Is it?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, we're seeing these two come back into like, I'm not going to say powerhouses, but like they used to be. But we're seeing them come back into relevancy. Where it's not like, oh well, we're going to watch a 4-7 Navy versus a 5-6 Army.
Yeah.
Going to be a snooze fest. These two have kind of not really. They still run the triple option, but they have brought more into the passing game this last year. And that quarterback from Army, Daly, that kid is a stud, especially when it
Hmm.
comes to running that triple option. I mean, we saw. I thought last week, I thought Tulane was going to beat them handily, and they absolutely controlled that game like Army typically does, unless they're playing Notre Dame this year.
Right. Yeah. The one outlier. If
Yep.
I just told you, and I don't think this is gonna be true, but if you said, you know what, I could put money right now on, like, I don't know what the odds are, but for next year's Heisman, just as a finalist, do you
Mm-hmm.
think that Daly has any chance next year to be a finalist? Not a winner. I don't think he can win, but a finalist.
If they can run the table, go undefeated, win the conference, and he puts up the numbers. He missed a couple of games, so his numbers aren't as big as they are. But we've seen it with what was his name? The kid from Navy a couple of years ago ended up going Reynolds. He
Hmm.
was right there on the cusp, of the going to New York. So I think there's a very good possibility. If he stays like he's doing right now, I think there's every opportunity because that team looks like they're formidable next year again.
Yeah, that's my dark horse. Like I just want to see it make a finalist. I think that'd be
Yeah.
incredible. I think it'd be a great storyline. But this dude this year he had 29 rushing touchdowns, 8 passing touchdowns. He had 1 interception. He was only sacked 4 times. This dude just puts the team in position to move the ball forward, which is what Army does. So it's
Mhm.
going to be a great game. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then right after that, we start bowl season, but more importantly, we start playoff season for college football. So don't worry, we'll have
Yep.
predictions on this upcoming weekend's episode. So if you have not subscribed to the show yet, I want you to
Mhm.
do that right now. Take time to hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. It's the number one way that you can support the show and get the word out there. The second thing that you can do is share it with someone new, and in doing so, you're actually going to get qualified to be a part of our drawing that we
Yeah.
have a free giveaway every single month to our listeners, and that is you guys. So just want to say thank you guys so much for that. Tubby, do you have a hint
I
right now
do.
for this episode for them? Because here's the thing, they can get extra entries into the giveaway if they can guess this hint. So Tubby, what's this hint?
I do. So, what we try to remember all the hints real quick. He is a Hall of Fame running back.
Mm-hmm.
He was see what else?
All
All
decade team.
decade team.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the first dual threat running backs to
Mm-hmm.
receiving and rushing. And then the next hint is he played his whole 12-year career with one team.
Okay. I think I know who it is. I'm not gonna say I'll take it offline, but I like this is a great. This is great. I like it a lot. So make sure you put that in the comment section. Will of whatever video that you happen to see this, whether it was the short or whether it was the actual episode itself. Make sure you do that because we want to give you credit and give you an extra
Yeah,
opportunity to win because it is another. Did we say what it is this month? Oh,
it's a
that is what
signed.
it is. Sorry,
It's
it's
a
a
signed
sign.
NFL
Yeah,
jersey.
got it. Okay, I was
Just
like,
don't know who yet.
okay, there we go. It's good.
I'm
So who wouldn't
I'm
want
the
that
only
for
one that
Christmas?
knows. I
That's
mean,
true. I don't
I'm
even
the
know
only one
yet.
that knows right now.
I
So
think I know.
maybe we'll see.
All right. Well, let's move on. College football world is enamored with transfer portal, NIL money, and we texted back and forth about this week, Tubby, and we were like, "Well, we got College Football 25, the video game, but what did it cost?" And I sent you back the GIF of Thanos, and it just made me think of it cost everything,
It did.
right? Like at the end of Endgame, it
Yep.
cost us everything that we hold near and dear outside of this weekend's incredible game with Army Navy, but.
Yep.
Just give me some of the updates of obviously Bill Belichick. Huge news. You just mentioned right before we came on the podcast today the news that UNLV did a very similar move with
Hmm.
Dan Mullen getting
Yeah.
hired over there. Both of these, are you saying good hires, great hires, okay hires? What are you saying?
I think they're both. So the Belichick, I think we both believe that it could potentially be a really good hire. We're
Yep.
still, it's still out there whether or not it is because how will he relate to these young, high school players? But we know Dan Mullen's track record outside the few rough years at Florida. The guy can coach, especially offensive wise. Going out to UNLV, going to be part of the Mountain West, Pac-12, whatever you want to call that, out west in the next year or so. I think he has a really good opportunity, to build something out there after uh, their head coach moves on to Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I've been hearing with a lot of these new head coach hirings is that a lot of them aren't looking for the highest paycheck, but they're actually looking for the highest NIL possibility that they can have to compete with these other teams, which to me, I think is just sad that that's where we're at in college football right now.
Yeah, I think so too. I was listening to another podcast, and they were just talking about the state of college football. This has become a professional football
Mm-hmm.
league.
Oh yeah.
Essentially, pay to play. Like that's what you get. Well, sometimes it's pay to play. Sometimes you just pay to potentially play.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most mismanaged, terribly thought out. Does not have a rhyme or reason. The NCAA is not run well as a professional
Yeah.
sports league.
No.
It's just terrible. And right now there is way like you always have to have that balance of power.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the players or is it the coaches or players or owners? There's no owners in this. It's schools or is it going to be players? And right now there's so much weight to the players. And I'm sorry. I
Mm-hmm.
think many, if not almost all of 18 to 19-year-old guys or 18 to 22-year-old guys, as I once was, are
Mm-hmm.
not in a position to hold that much. Like it is wild, and they got people in their ears saying you can go get money. Or at least put your name in the portal, see what you're going to go get over here. and
Yeah.
it sucks because it feels like here in a couple of years it's fracturing a lot of what we know about the
Mhm.
traditions of college football. But not only that, I think it's going to stunt a lot of these incredible athletes' development because they're just going for the paycheck. They're going to the next place where maybe they'll get to play more because they were upset that they didn't get to play as a redshirt freshman. Dude, you're a redshirt
Yeah.
freshman. Put your time in, work hard, and
Yeah.
how many NFL players played 1.5 seasons at Alabama, but played their whole career there, and they're really, really good NFL prospects.
Yeah. I think one way that you fix this is, I mean, you're paying them. They should have to sign a contract that says I'll play, 2 years at least. Because if I'm paying you money, I'm not going to pay you $1 million, for you to be a 5-star prospect and you not get to play because we have other better players ahead of you. You're not developed quite ready for the high SEC, Big Ten, ACC, big time football right now because you need to build muscle and all that stuff. You have to sign at least a 2-year contract saying I will stay here because if I'm going to pay you that much money, why shouldn't you have to sign a contract?
Yeah,
It
it's hard to have contracts because NIL is so much like we got this hot dog
well,
company. They want to sponsor you, man. Hopefully, tell me we
not
want you to be this sponsor of this hot tub company. Like we want you to be a guy for that. You're like, okay, and then all of a sudden they're like, you know what, we went bankrupt, or yeah, you know what, we can't pay you anymore, and they're like, all right, fine, I'm dipping. So like it's so hard, and I feel like they have to centralize it somehow. Every other professional league, they've centralized the funds to one avenue, and that's why contracts work. I think as it is, until they do what you're talking about, they can't do it the way it's set up.
Well, there is I don't know if it's just the SEC, but I know the SEC next year,
Hmm.
all the NIL will be coming from the school
Hmm.
instead of outside sources. They can still get, some of their get extra money outside, but the NIL will come straight from the school instead of going, okay, well, I got this booster that owns this car lot down here. He'll give you $100,000 plus a car, or whatever. And we got this other booster. It's going to come, it will be more centralized from the college instead of, a bunch of outside sources. So if that's the case, the college could essentially go, okay, we need you to sign a contract. But
Yeah, I like that.
the one big thing that I think a lot of people are missing, and the NIL is a absolutely huge problem, but it's the transfer portal. Is the fact that last year there was almost 3,900 FBS players. That not counting
Yeah, not
FCS,
even yeah.
FBS players into the transfer portal. Only, and the number keeps on going up. The amount that
Oh yeah.
end up not having scholarships at the end of this, and it's going to be somewhere around 40% this year, where 40% of the players that enter are not getting scholarships on another FBS team. That is a huge problem because whoever's in their ear telling them you need to leave, you need to go find money, you are hurting them significantly because now they're having to go to an FCS team, or some of them go to like NAIA schools, or
Hmm.
JUCO schools to build a year so they can still play. And all you're doing is stunting their growth, especially when it's a kid coming from like Alabama. Maybe he was 6th or 7th on the depth chart, and people go, "Well, we haven't seen you play. Yeah, you're a high recruit, but we haven't seen you pay, so we can't give you the money that you're looking for." And then that number of interest, drops each time. You're setting these kids up for failure. Going, okay, go ahead, enter, because only about 60% of the kids that enter are going to end up with a scholarship on another FBS team. There has to be something. And the NCAA, they talked about this. Oh yeah, there's too many people entering the transfer portal. We gotta fix that. And then like a week later, they go, well, we're going to change the terminology and say, instead of one transfer, we're just going to take the one out, and yeah, you can transfer as many times as you want.
Yeah, and it does create a lot of this like free agency mindset around these college players. It's just not great.
Yeah.
I don't think for the game. And I can't say this enough. It's college used to be about the right coaching because coaching would help develop you for the next level if that's what you're going to be,
Mm-hmm.
or at the very least, like what Coach Prime has been so big about, is just developing good, young, productive young men in this world. We
Mm-hmm.
need that a ton, and this. I think the big side effect of the transfer portal and the money part of it is that you're really it's hard to do that if you move every single year. I mean,
Yeah.
how many really good quarterbacks in this league, and we are in a desperate shortage of quarterbacks. Um,
Well, I mean, look
how
at
many
college
of them?
football this year. How
Yeah,
many good college quarterbacks you get
exactly.
this year?
Yeah, and you can't have because every single time you have a different coordinator, you got a whole new thing. You got to catch up to
Mm-hmm.
speed, and it stunts people all the time. And people are like, well, I don't care. It's no. I think you need to care. I think you need to lean into this more. It's just bad. Oh, dude, it's
Yeah,
bad.
it's a mess. They're going to have to figure something out at some point. They're going to have to put some parameters on something if they're going to save the game of college football. And I'm sure college basketball is the same. I'm just not as
Basketball's
in
pretty bad too. Yeah.
depth, with how bad it is. But at least basketball, there's more. There's not as many one and dones as there used to be, but there's still enough that it maybe not be as dramatic. Like
Yeah.
college, football, you have to play at least three. You have to have 3 years in college football to play. To be able to enter the NFL draft. So I don't know what they do. I mean, because NCAA they haven't had a hold on anything for how many years. So I don't know
Hmm.
if whatever they try would work.
Yeah. It's I don't know, and we'll have more news and updates on this as we go through. Obviously, this is
Mhm.
just the first week, and we got bowl season to come around. I mean, for Oklahoma and their quarterback situation, Washington State doesn't have their bowl game until the day before the portal closes. So, like, literally, they may have to
Yeah.
wait
So what
if they
it's
are putting all their money on that.
so what it's sounding like from what I've heard from some, listening to some other podcasts and some of these, insiders for Oklahoma is that they believe that John Mateer will actually make a decision this weekend,
We'll see.
and say, I'm going to enter the transfer portal, but I will still play my game at Washington State.
Yeah,
And so
interesting.
he will be able to talk with teams. And then plus there is a grace period, a 5-day grace period. If you do play a game, right up close to a bowl game right up close to the transfer
Hmm.
portal window closing, you have a 5-day grace period where you can still enter and, but it's more accelerated. Now you gotta kind of have to have an idea of where you're going to go because you won't have enough time to visit 5-6 schools in those few days.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Well, like I said, we'll have more news and notes as we continue on. We're going to move on to the NFL as we're 1 month away from playoffs. So a
Mhm.
couple big games this week tonight. I want you to pick this game as we're recording. We'll post this tomorrow, so we're going to see if we're
Mhm.
right or wrong. 49ers Rams. Who you got? It's in
I
San
got the
Francisco.
I got the Rams.
I got the Rams as well. Let's go, dude. Is Debo going to be the running back for the 49ers? That's my question.
Sounds like Grindo is going to go,
We'll
but
see.
how much, how healthy is he? How
Yeah,
many carries you're going to be able to give him? I think Debo will get a lot of carries this
I think
week,
you should.
and
You can't get open
Patrick.
anyway. Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez, it's so bad. But all right, we'll move on to some of the other games. With that, there's a lot of playoff potential in this matchup,
Mhm.
which is nice. I mean, you get
Yeah.
two good teams on a Thursday night. You don't get those often enough. All right, let's move on to some of the games later this weekend. We got your Packers versus the Seahawks, who are sneaking up to what is it, 8-5 with Geno Smith.
Yep.
Is he back? No, Geno Smith, for the record, is still putting up the original Geno Smith type numbers, but
Mhm.
they are winning at least. So, are you a little nervous about your Packers on the road?
No.
Okay, cool. He's like, nah, man, I'm not.
Yeah, I think they win. I mean, I really think there's te- three teams right now in the NFC. Maybe the fourth team if you want to throw the Vikings in there. I think have to put some respect on what the Vikings have done. But I think there's four teams, either three teams and a fourth team on the teeter that are legitimate in the NFC, and the Packers are one of them.
Issues. I've had Wi-Fi issues this whole time, so we're back. This is a 2 Monday night game again. I don't know why it's happening this late in the season, but it is.
Yeah.
So the Packers at Sunday night game. There's also a lot of weather potential for these games, so be on the lookout for
Mm-hmm.
that. Got Dolphins and Texans. Who you got in this one? Texans really do need to get this win.
I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. I just don't trust the Texans right now.
Isn't that crazy? Right now, this is a Dolphins team that we really don't see the path for a legit playoff. Like maybe
Yeah,
to get some help, and
maybe.
they do need help with the Texans losing is one of those games. But
Hmm.
um, yeah, I like the Dolphins on the road. They are down by 3. Is Houston's favored by 3, but they are playing pretty well, and they're getting the ball to Tyreek a lot and Jalen Waddle last game. And then Achan and out of the backfield had a lot of catches. So I think they're
Yep.
they're starting to at least turn the wheels on offense. And
Hmm.
it's in a dome.
Yeah, they don't have to worry about weather.
Yeah. Another. All right, take 3. We're back with a different internet connection. We're going to see if this one works. Sorry. Thanks you all so much for sticking with us in those technical difficulties. Good Lord. All right, we got Broncos, Colts. Does Bo Nix continue his trend upwards, and do they make it to 9-5?
Yeah, I think so. This is an interesting game, especially for the NFC South. If the Texans do lose and the Colts somehow, win this one, got an interesting rate, last few weeks there.
Mm-hmm. And then you got 2 double-digit win teams. Let's see if one's actually for real. Eagles 11-2 versus the Steelers at 10-3. Who you got?
I'm going to go with the Steelers. And you know why? Because Philadelphia hasn't won in Pittsburgh in like 40 some years.
Oh, it's in Philadelphia though.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, for some reason I thought it was in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, easy enough. So does that change your statement?
No.
Oh, I love it. I was waiting for you to say, you know what? No. So I saw that come. That is great. Yeah, it should be a really good matchup though. Battle of Pennsylvania. No one's talking about it like that though. So,
No.
and then I cannot believe the NFL has put this game at this time. There's zero reason in my mind that it shouldn't be this Sunday night game. No offense to your Packers, but the Lions and Bills at
Yeah.
3 o'clock. Come on, what are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, why the Packers, Seahawks? I don't know, but yeah,
No
I think the
offense to
line.
it's the offense to the Seahawks. Come on, it's about
Yeah,
I get the Packers, but come on, who you got in this one?
I got the lines. The Bills are picking a bad time to lose a couple in a row.
Yeah, I like the Lions as well. It is at home, and they are
Hmm.
6-1 at home, while the Bills are 4-3 on the road, and they just lost on the road. We just talked about that. We'll have to see how that one goes. But there are some really intriguing matchups. This is not a week. We're coming off of Bipocalypse this late in the season.
Yeah,
Ain't nobody watching the Jets, Jags, Panthers, Cowboys.
yeah,
I don't even know how many people are watching the Giants and Ravens this week. So there are some
yeah,
really, really good matchups. The noon game that I think most people should watch is Chiefs Browns, only because there's a chance the Chiefs could lose this game because there's a chance they could lose every single game. Do they
yeah.
lose this game?
No, I don't think they do.
This has the writing on it though that they would lose this game. Jameis Winston throws 3 scores, and
Yeah,
it's 27-21. Chiefs lose. Or 20. Let's say this 27-16. Chiefs just don't get the ball in the end zone. Everyone's freaking out. See, here it is. They can't get the ball in the end zone, and then they fix it from after this. I called it. By the way,
there you
I
go.
called it. All right, we're gonna go super super fast because we know it's fantasy football playoffs. We want to know a couple of start and sit. You're gonna go back to back on these, Tubby, of
Okay,
quarterbacks. You're gonna start in the playoffs.
I'm gonna go with start Drake May versus the Cardinals. I know they
I
haven't
do like
traveled
that.
across the country, but I think Drake May gets in the end zone on the ground. Sit. I'm going Jalen Hurts versus Pittsburgh. Jalen Hurts hasn't thrown over 200 yards in the last 3 games, and he's been very touchdown dependent. This defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think, is going to be a problem for them.
Yeah, I like it. All right, let's move on to running backs. Tubby, who you got?
I'm starting Gus Edwards versus Tampa Bay this week. I
Wow,
think
Gus,
last
Gus.
week he did not put up the numbers we thought he would, but I think this week you're going against a bottom tier rush defense in Tampa Bay. I think he puts up some numbers. And then I'm sitting Isaiah Pacheco. They have him ranked too high right now. for a guy that's still trying to get his feet back underneath
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, I kind of feel that one too, partially because it's in Cleveland. The weather's not going to be great,
Yeah,
so that might lend itself to it. But I don't. He's got to find the end zone. That's the only way I
mhm,
think you're wrong. So we'll see
yeah,
about that. But the Chiefs have struggled to find the end zone. Just saying.
yeah.
All right, wide receiver.
So I have two starts that I think that you could potentially go with. I think Roma Dunze versus Minnesota. Caleb Williams has been looking towards Roma Dunze quite a bit, especially in the red zone. I'm going to go DeAndre Hopkins versus Cleveland. Cleveland secondary is pretty beat up right now. I think
Like it.
DeAndre Hopkins gets in the end zone maybe once or twice. And then I'm sitting T. Higgins versus Tennessee.
Just because the corner play, what
Yes,
you think it's all
I think
Jamar
that
Chase?
I think it's all Jamar Chase again.
Yeah, I like it. Who scores more points this week? It doesn't really matter. Jamar Chase or Puka Nacua or Justin Jefferson.
Jamar Chase.
Wow. Yeah, he's insane right now.
Yeah, he's on fire.
Yeah. Well, guys, we did the fantasy football in this episode a little bit quicker because tomorrow's episode is going to be all baseball updates news. We just had winter meetings and we're going into some more free agency periods. So we're going to get you all updated on that because, dude, we are 8 weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting. I thought about it myself. I'm very excited. But we want to make sure you don't miss a single episode. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. Thank you for sticking with us with the technical issues. Make sure you put your guess of what Tubby mentioned earlier in the podcast in the chat, so that way you can get your extra entries in there if you're right. And we'll announce that pretty soon. Till then,
Yeah.
see y'all next time.
See ya.
See ya.